the focus on ridicule.
I'm white, and I've got everything I need. No one clutches their purses when they're in a room alone with me. And I can drive for any neighborhood I please at any hour, and the police don't do a thing. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I got everything I need. I'm a guy getting paid more than a girl with a degree. And I can walk down the streets after dark, no one wants to rape me. And I can get a girl pregnant and just as easily flee. Just like my straight white male dad did to me. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. I've got a pile of broken mirrors and I'm walking under ladders and I'm spilling tons of salt, but to me that doesn't matter, cause my skin and my gender and my orientation are the best things to have if you live in this nation. I recommend it highly. If I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. Shit's gonna work out for me, cause I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Intellectual Dollar Tree. We do the show live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific. Right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. You can find us other places too, I suppose, now that we can multi-stream. But, Twitch is where it's at, especially as it gets later. But that's a different matter entirely. HK won't be joining us this week. He is on adventures, and by adventures, I believe he's moving. Moving sucks, but getting a new place is awesome. So best of luck to him while he's moving. You can support this project at echoplexmedia.com. Just go there and click on the support tab. There are numerous ways to support this project. You can pick your favorite. I, of course, hope that you buy some merch, especially the new Galaxy Brain t-shirt. Pretty cool. Got a bunch of new stuff coming in 2024. New logos for most of the shows, etc., etc., etc. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr. This week, we found a guy. His name is Andrew Gold. We found him by looking into something else entirely. But, oh boy, is his series called Heretics right in line with what we're doing here on the Intellectual Dollar Tree. And for a while, I've been trying to do a Graham Lennon? I don't know how the fuck you say his last name. I've been trying to do a video about his downfall. What happened to him? Well, maybe I'll just play it first. What happened to him was he ended up choosing his bigotry against trans people over his family. He decided that he was just going to not listen to his wife and his kids about his behavior, and so they stopped talking to him. And here's him on something called Nolan Live. Whining about that, talking about it. I don't know. It's a little bit of background for what we're about to watch.
To fight this, but it must feel like a lonely place, and it must hurt, and it must mess you up.
Yeah. They took everything from me,
Like what? What do you mean?
They took my family, before this, all I was doing was, writing comedy and playing board games and being silly on the internet. And then I just said, no, hang on a sec. Stop calling these women TERFs. Stop sending them abuse. Let them speak. And for that, they just destroyed me.
No. I mean, that's not really fair. Like, people talk about like unconditional love or whatever. Love is actually not unconditional. And if you fucking jump the shark, maybe your family going to be like, bye. And that's what happened to him, or that's what they chose to do. So that's sort of the backdrop to this. Here is him on the Andrew Gold show. Again, we found Andrew Gold because we were looking into the ex-Scientology community. It's pretty weird. It's just is more evidence for my grand unified potato theory. Basically, every dumb fucking thing we cover is actually the same thing as all the other dumb fucking things we're covering. So here's this is called The World's Most Canceled Man with as he's known on Twitter, Glinner.
You've had a torrid last few years. Some people aren't aware of all this stuff. Are you able to take us through?
Yeah, I essentially just basically started standing up for women's rights and got, the popular phrase for it is cancelled. Because
that's a word, not a phrase.
At the moment, being a supporter of women's rights is extremely unfashionable.
Yeah, it seems so. Do you remember the very first time that you dipped your toe into this and how the reaction was?
I can't remember the first time, but I do remember that I was a kind of a harbinger of, is it harbinger or harbinger? But a harbinger it is now. I liked to tweet,
Yeah.
It was only then I realized that there was an entire kind of class of people online who were kind of keeping an eye on people's likes and seeing what they were
Man discovers what it's like being famous on Twitter.
And it was literally a tweet saying, people with gender dysphoria need the best care you can possibly get. And at the same time, women need single sex spaces, and I liked that tweet and it immediately started going out. Glinners a turf. Glinners my Twitter name. And rather, a lot of people, because the pushback is so vicious, a lot of people, they get scared and they back off it. But I didn't have an employer. I've always been a freelancer. So there was no one to tell me to stop. So
except your wife and kids, and then you told them no.
Possibly in a foolhardy way, just kept going, But, I'm right. And I won't lie.
Yeah.
And at the moment, there's intense pressure on people to lie. And I won't do it.
It is such a strange one because for me, I don't even have to say what side I am or even if I agree with you or whatever, because I think it's irrelevant, because the main point is that you're allowed to express your opinion as long as you're not saying these people should be killed or whatever.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is other people are allowed to express their opinion too. This is the same old shit, man. It doesn't matter who's talking about this stuff. It's always the same thing. It's always like, I talk, you listen. And if you talk back, well, now you have undid the thing that I just said. But that's not true. If you talk back to somebody, they actually still said the thing they said. It's just more speech. Talking back to people is just more speech. Criticism is just more speech.
And you're actually saying these people need a lot of care and help. Something similar to what J.K. Rowling has said.
That's called concern trolling. It's I would be on your side because this part of it is right, except for this other part, which is the thing that you actually care about.
Why has there been so much attention on you and J.K. Rowling and very few other people who are saying probably much more extreme things?
Oh, because but two reasons. First of all, the first reason is that both of us are impeccably left-wing.
No. It's because you're famous. More people see what you're doing because you're famous.
The cancel culture doesn't come after people who are right wing. They come after left wingers. It's a movement that tries to destroy heretics within.
Interesting.
Yeah. And second,
Heretics. That's the name of this guy's show, by the way. Heretics podcast. That's not it. It's that people who are not bigots don't like you because you're a bigot.
We both wrote things that were kind of beloved by the generation that was trying to cancel us. It's almost like a getting back at mum and dad thing.
It's almost like getting back at mom and get the fuck out of here.
Fact that they couldn't get us on anything. I've always been very active on issues like climate change and abortion. There was nothing they could use against me. So, that's when you're the biggest target.
This is like, this guy thinks that like some fucking cancel culture mob was like just waiting in the wings for him to fuck up so bad that his wife stopped talking to him.
The bigger, you know, the more kind of boxes you tick as a good progressive, the harder they come for you.
I suppose if we're thinking, I always do this. I'm guilty of always looking at evolutionary reasons for things and just guessing stuff. But I suppose that in your tribe, if there was somebody who disagreed a bit, you'd have a reason to really want to kick them out. Whereas if there was just a totally different tribe, you're not that bothered.
It's not evolution, but okay.
That's a good point. And also, you know, you see that the biggest kind of differences that people have. What's that phrase? The bigotry of small differences.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You know, the situation in Northern Ireland where, you know, you have two people who are divided only by, you know, almost a random occurrence, which is they happen to be born Catholic, happen to be born Protestant.
Oh, you're not born a particular religion, though. That's not really how that worked. They were born to Catholic families or Protestant families. And, you know, we euphemistically call the period in Northern Ireland that he's referring to as the Troubles. But it was, there were a lot of, it was pretty explodey and shooty, right? It was like almost a civil war in the United Kingdom. But, you know, it was just the bigotry of small differences.
You hate, you know, there was a time when they hated each other more than any other group in the world. And it's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's I think you're right. I think it's the thing of trying to keep the tribe pure, you know, that meant that.
No. It's called taking out your own trash, Graham. Graham, you were the trash and you got took out.
They had to go. But also, you know, part of the problem is that the propaganda that they so carelessly spread trans rights activists is that people like me and her who want to protect single-sex spaces and want children to not be experimented on with drugs that have had no long-term studies.
The thing I don't like about this is that Andrew Gold's gonna have this guy on, and I looked at the rest of his stuff. In fact, during the post game last week, we watched him and Non Oliver, kind of glad hand, making fun of trans people. Well, not really making fun of trans people, saying bigoted things about trans people. So we watched that, and so this is the next one we're watching. Do you suppose this Andrew Gold fellow is going to have on a child development specialist or someone from the medical or psychological community to talk about this and talk about the current state of play and the best practices as understood by the people who study these matters? Or do you think he's never going to do that like all the rest of these motherfuckers? I think it's the second one.
Oh God. Yeah. The thing they do is they tell other people, other trans people, other allies, that we hate them and we want to kill them. And the language they use is kind of like this kind of boiling heat. Genocide, transgenocide is used a lot, you know, phrases like this. And
like, how does this guy think genocides start? They start when you other people. It's the first step. You have to other people. That's the first step. I don't know if people are saying that he's calling for that specifically. I think they're just like, dude, you said a bunch of bigoted things about this. You wouldn't back down on it. You wouldn't apologize. And then your family left you. And we think that's rather funny. And so we're going to make fun of you, but forever, actually.
Trying to convince this often very vulnerable group of people that we want them dead, you know? So, yeah, it's kind of a consequence of that, like, Bunsen burner that's underneath the conversation, you know?
How did you feel? I want to get into how you felt when this started happening to you. I mean, cancellation is I find it a boring word because it's just overused. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Just what does that mean? Oh, cancelled. What actually happened to you, and how did it make you feel?
You find that word to be kind of boring, yet here it is in your title, the world's most cancelled man.
I was just saying things that people have said for 100 years, you know, since the suffragettes won, you know, rights for women, that women need single-sex spaces and they deserve fair sports and men have certain
advantages that women don't have, and that should
this guy on the body any sanctioning body for women's sports, because I think our position on women's sports is like there are at the and by the way, this only matters at the very top of the layer cake too, right? Most people playing sports is a way to make friends, to have fun, to have some kind of camaraderie with other people, to exercise without having to be on a fucking treadmill. Like most people that play sports or do sports are not at like the pinnacle. They're not doing it professionally. But at the pinnacle, then we have sanctioning bodies for all of these different sports. And I figure that they have thought about these matters deeply and have consulted the relevant experts and will tend to make the right decisions. But it's not my decision.
Taken into account when, talking about things like sports. And it was just considered the most offensive thing that I could have said. And I was saying things that I knew my friends agreed with. I knew we'd all just assumed all this stuff to be true for our whole lives. And yet, rather than kind of backing me up and saying, Graham isn't saying anything weird here, I was just kind of abandoned,
Well, you know what? Hey, I think they thought you were wrong, or they were like, hey man, why are you dying on this hill? This is not a hill you need to die on. And if you are going to die on this hill, we're going to not stand on this hill with you while you do it.
And I would speak to people. I would just say, will you just say, just something along the lines of women deserve fair sports? And of course, it's not a mad opinion. And I absolutely refused. People would refuse. And it was like, I couldn't understand it. And it was only after being so completely monstered and frozen out of my business and or my comedy writing and so on, that I kind of realized no one was coming along, So in the end, I had to write a freaking book to explain my position, because it's so often misinterpreted or deliberately misconstrued. I'm fond of saying this because it's so extraordinary to me. 75 plus hit pieces written about me by Pink News,
I've been criticized by the media for my behavior
because I don't agree with what I think is a very regressive, homophobic, and most of all misogynistic set of beliefs.
Great. How do gay and lesbian and bisexual people and feminists feel about the matter? Because poll after poll, self-described feminists are like, a 2-to-1, sometimes 3-to-1 in favor of trans rights. Gay, lesbian, and bisexual people, the polling numbers I think are higher, because we understand the type of bigotry that is being hurled at trans people. You just change out a couple of the fucking adjectives and fucking nouns, and it just may as well be the same shit they were saying about me 30 years ago.
Oh, man. Speaking to you just before off camera, I mean, the first thing that you just said to me was, I got a round of applause. I hope you don't mind me saying, I got a round of applause. I need to message my mum. It's meeting you. It's
standing ovation.
No, but it's instantly clear that this has been a really turbulent time for you, and that you're incredibly it's still very raw for you. You're very emotional about it. Yeah,
it's sometimes, and also, because of the stress of when your book comes out, I'm not sleeping great at the moment, so you get a bit emotional and weepy, and I have to guard against it, because otherwise I'll be doing it all the time, But yeah, it makes me emotional, and I'm extremely moved when, as happened at the interview today, people stood up for me. It means the world, and most of the day is spent reading about what a terrible monster I am. So when something like that happens, yeah, it's very special. My mum will be delighted.
What is it like for your mum? Because I know from experience that when you start getting into these things, one's mum starts clipping the things, and it's all very exciting. You would a
she
national
wouldn't be
icon.
clipping any of the things that have been said recently about me. Yeah, no, it was tough. It's been tough on them. They don't understand it. And you try and say to them, they're literally saying that men who have a penis are lesbians.
Yeah.
And
The UN said that.
What?
The UN said that.
Yeah. it's homophobic. It's homophobic.
No, it's not.
They don't, like a lot of people who encounter this subject, they don't quite believe it's happening in a weird way. It's like,
Well, I bet that's because the way that you're relaying it to them isn't really accurate. And so they're like, are you sure? Like, that doesn't sound right. And that's because I think the way he's probably relaying it to them in an inaccurate way. But when you're the fucking main character of the story, I guess you got to tell yourself you're the hero.
you know, my mum was always like, you know, can you not just stop talking about it, you know?
Even his mom was like, dude, you could just shut the fuck up, actually.
It's like, no, I can't. Like, you know, it's the only way I can protect my daughter is by trying to destroy this.
That, you know what's amazing? I think his daughter doesn't talk to him anymore.
Wider level, on a
If I'm not
wider
mistaken.
stage. Because I can't follow her around the place and make sure that every single sex space she
I
goes
think she doesn't want you around. I think.
is intact and she'll be safe in there. So you have to address it on a wider level so that, you know, girls like my daughter will be safe, you know? And yeah, so you know,
I think his daughter, if I'm not mistaken, she's grown, so she's a woman.
Why you started speaking out, having your daughter?
definitely. Yeah, definitely. I dedicated the book to my daughter because it's all for her, you know? And, you know, as I say, she because they're kids, she's 18, my son is 16.
She's not a kid.
Because they're kids, they don't know that this stuff is abnormal. They think they've grown up in it, so they just think this is what the world is like. And it's
That's so crazy that your teenage kids have to explain to you that, hey, Dad, this is actually just the way the world works. Sorry.
want them to know that this is completely unprecedented. This has never happened before in the history. There's never been such a concerted attempt to destroy the meaning of fundamental words like woman and man. You know, it is a assault on our sanity. You know, and that's what I kind of want them to know, that it's not the way the world works. It's just a kind of consequence of broadband, you know, that like ideas that are sometimes incredibly crazy spread so quickly now, and we don't really know how to inoculate ourselves against some of these terrible ideas, you know. Apparently,
being such a giant piece of shit that your family doesn't want to talk to you certainly seems not to be working so well for you. Yeah, somebody in chat was like, did he just blame broadband? Yes, he did.
when the printing press was invented, the subsequent years is where, you know, the Reformation happened, and a lot of kind of religious cults formed for similar reasons. Suddenly everybody who had a belief was able to, you know, like there were all these kind of mathematical theories, you know, 7 days, and the seventh day this will happen, and there were loads of people waiting for the end of the world that didn't come along. And a similar thing has happened with the invention of the internet. You have a kind of almost like a naturally rising cult, which is based around the idea that one sex is actually not real. It's something that can be changed, or something that doesn't matter. And
I'd go with the second one, that it doesn't matter as much as they really, really, really want it to.
No, it does matter. It matters to a woman walking home at night. It matters to, you know, a woman on a swim team who has to race against a man who's like got twice her muscle mass and strength. It matters. And
I just wonder how much this guy cared about women swimming prior to any of this moral panic.
Yeah, I had to write the book just to make sure they know that it's not, what's happening is not standard. It's a strange thing, and it at least needs to be addressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Part of the problem at the moment is that no one's even addressing it. It's like, oh, this is normal. It's not
Except
normal.
for the governing bodies at the highest levels of all these sports are actually looking into these matters and trying to make the right decision.
And also, if there's going to be such a massive change in the way we think about men and women and the way we think about single-sex spaces, it has to have a discussion. But it's been skipped over. The discussion just has been skipped over. And in fact, anyone trying to even have the discussion is painted as a bigot.
That's it, yeah.
So,
well, no, it did. Like, how are you trying to have the discussion? Like, what are the parameters of the discussion you're trying to have? That's what's important. It's not that you can't talk about it. It's that, how are you talking about it? Who are you talking to?
That's the kind of reason I've done everything, really, you know?
I think, I think, you know, you say it hasn't happened before. I think it has, but not necessarily in the mainstream. I mean, the Stasi would have done things like that.
Wait, what? The Stasi? Did he? He didn't just.
And before anyone, people are going to say I'm comparing trans people to Nazi. I'm not suggesting that. I know everyone's going to get angry, but they did, you know, Untermenschen and those kinds of words they would use to describe the Jews, and those kinds of things do happen. Words start to change meaning, but that's
what
a sign of bad stuff.
Well, have you read Eric Hoffer, The True Believer?
No, I know the name, I think.
He was like this, I think he was a longshoreman who kind of taught himself, wrote in 1953 a book called The True Believer, which is about the nature of mass movements like communism, Nazism, and even Christianity, you know? And there are so many parallels to what's happening now, you know? Like one of the things he points out, that Nazis did this, communists did this, and even Christianity did this. They destroyed a family. Apparently Jesus... one line in the Bible, he says, I will turn brother against brother, I will turn husband against wife. And what Hoffer says that means is basically Christianity, when it came along, it was enormously, you know, you would have these battles between people who, you know, were still believing in the old way of things, and Christianity, which came along like a broom and collected... You know, sorry, wrong metaphor, but collected all these people.
Why was it the wrong metaphor? Maybe not done like witches.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening right now. I know so many families who've lost daughters because the daughters are taking testosterone against the parents' wishes.
No, well, they okay. First of all, my opinion is they lost their son. If the person identifies as a man. But they didn't lose this person because this person is trans. They lost this person because of their behavior, their inability to accept this person, their inability to treat this person with compassion, with respect.
And, you know, you have these kids who are very vulnerable, and they're out in the street, you know, or they've cut off all contact, and it's a nightmarish scenario, you know, but it is.
But you could be like, I'm sorry. Actually,
in common with a lot of other mass movements in the past, whereby the first thing they do is try and weaken those bonds between family members.
Yeah. Well, this
motherfucker isn't going to, because this guy's been covering Scientology, right? This motherfucker is probably right here going to bring up Scientology's disconnection policy. Watch.
My channel mostly before. I haven't done too much about trans. I have interviewed some sort of trans people, often the controversial ones who don't go along with a lot of the ideology, because the ones who do won't come on the show. I keep asking them; they will not do it. And
who? Name them. I'm not a trans person, but the thing he's calling trans ideology is something that I generally accept. You should have me on.
He understands, because they feel like that's their identity. They shouldn't have to explain it to someone who's skeptical, and I get that. But then part of me also thinks it might be because there's a circular reasoning that might be exposed after one or two questions.
Oh, he didn't go to Scientology. I thought for sure he was going to go to Scientology's policy of disconnection right there.
I would say, yeah, I'm sure there's a few people who would be extremely sensitive about their identity. However, I think the vast majority are just, they know they can't defend it. These positions are untenable. You know, it's like...
what is it? And I'm going to paraphrase here. I remember when Andrew Sullivan challenged Ta-Nehisi Coates to a debate, and Ta-Nehisi Coates' response was brilliant. He's like, I have no interest in debating with you my basic and fundamental humanity as a person. It was something along those lines, and it was just fucking brilliant. And I think that's sort of where people are coming from. If Andrew Gold is like trying to get people on to like just defend their own basic humanity as a trans or a non-binary, a gender non-conforming person.
I'll give you a good example. If single-sex spaces don't exist, and a man who identifies as a woman can go into a woman's changing room or whatever it happens to be, you immediately stop observant religious Muslims, Jewish women from entering these spaces. You know, so there's this kind of weird.
Wait, what do Muslims and Jews in your society? How are they on trans rights? I bet the Jews are pretty on it. They're pretty like, oh yeah, trans, that's fine. I don't know what the Muslim people in the UK are like, but if they're like here in the US, they're going to be a lot more accepting than your average right winger, just as a group.
Balance that's not really a balance. That, oh yeah, we're going to destroy women's spaces, and we also support Muslim people. Well, you don't. Because
it's an inversion of this. There's an inversion of this. This when people would tell me that, like, a lot of new atheists, right? They'd be like, "How can you not hate Muslims? You're a gay man. Muslims throw gay people off the roof." And I'm like, I go outside and I look around. I'm like, which roof in my neighborhood am I about to be thrown off of? Right? And the response would generally be something like, well, if you were in Saudi Arabia. And I'm like, well, what happens in Saudi Arabia isn't really a reason for me to be a giant piece of shit to the people in my community. So I don't know what to tell you.
Respecting their beliefs on this one. So they don't want to say these things out loud, because as soon as you express them, a friend of mine has a brilliant phrase. She says, trans rights activists cannot say what they believe on the grounds it may incriminate them, you know? Hmm? And it's I see it over and over again. These people cannot actually articulate their positions, because if they did, they would be arguing for instance, an end to women's sports, an end to women's spaces. Have you ever heard of the phrase, the urinary leash?
No.
Huh?
The urinary leash was I'm not sure who came up with it, but it was a feminist phrase. And it meant that before there were public toilets that divided into male and female, women couldn't really go far from their house. They were on a urinary leash, because once they got to a certain place, there was nowhere for them to go and be safe, you know. They're arguing for that to be brought back.
I don't know if that's true.
And no one is quite, but the conversation, the debate can't happen because they pretend that's not their argument.
I suppose their argument, if we were to steel man the argument and make theirs the best it can be.
This ought to be great. He's going to steel man the argument. I hate it when somebody else says, here's the good version of the argument that I have never allowed you to make in my presence.
Those women should learn to be as good and worthy and righteous as we are, and to recognize that these biological males are now women, and so they should be comfortable in changing rooms with them.
Sure, but again...
Actually, no, the argument is, if poll after poll, women are just fine with this. They're just fine with it.
Like, how is a woman supposed to know the difference between, and I'll use an example of a friend of mine, my lovely trans friend, Debbie Hayton.
Oh, she's been on the show.
Yeah, I thought you might have spoken to Debbie. But
Buck Angel's the other one that we've had.
Buck, yeah, amazing person. But how are women supposed to know the difference between Debbie and Andrew Miller, who has just been arrested for picking up a 11-year-old girl in Scotland and raping her over a series of days? And the judge made a point of saying that the reason this young girl got in the car was because he was dressed as a woman, you know?
Is that even a trans person?
Individuals supposed to know the difference, you know?
Like,
I often heard people...
the idea that this is this model minority shit, right? Where, oh yeah, well, if black people are so good, why did one of them do a murder? And you're like, well, it's because they're people like everybody else, and some people do a murder. Like,
people on that other side of the argument say, oh, so you're saying that trans people are going to all do horrible, devious things. I think the response is no, but they'll probably do them at the same rate as biological men do, which is enough.
But it's also, the question is also, what does trans mean? Like,
well, so he's like, even Andrew's a softball of like, hey, the argument against this is that because they're a large enough group of people, some of them are going to commit crimes, and it seems that they commit crimes at approximately the same rate as their cis male counterparts or whatever. And he's like, oh, well, what does trans even mean?
I think one of the reasons that my cancellation was so kind of universally approved of was because most people thought I was talking about transsexuals, like Debbie. But that's not what's going on. You have people who are fully intact. Apparently, the number is something like 83%.
Oh, he's going to go this transmedicalist crap now.
Identified men are fully intact, and they are demanding the same rights that we have very rightly given to transsexuals for years. And it's like, well, no, there's a difference. There is a difference. And the thing that really upsets me is that you see a lot of these kind of trans influencers who are, as I say, fully intact, and they're encouraging children to get these procedures done.
Are they? I think this is bullshit.
And there's no such thing as a successful transition. You know, they all come with lifetime problems. If you transition, you're going to be going to the hospital a lot, you know, regularly. And that's not, no one's telling these kids this.
Yeah.
You know?
One of the reasons I wanted to do this as well, like my channel has traditionally focused on cults, Scientology and things like that. And there are so many similarities, again, with the words that change and these kinds of things. And I thought eventually I have to come out and talk
I knew
about
he was going to do this.
Know it's going to lose a lot of followers, and so be it. Eventually you have to just say, well, and as you've said, we're not having a go at trans people or this or that. It's just saying
You're having a go at trans people.
There's certain things that don't hold up to logic, and as soon as you start to do that, you're veering away from truth and science. And I think that is
what do scientists who study sex and gender think about this? What is the overwhelming consensus among child development experts? People who study human sexuality, or is that not what you're talking about?
Needs to be brought up.
I think you're right about it. It's an interesting one, though. It's like, it's not quite a cult, because I believe the definition of a cult needs a leader, and there's no leader here. But
his definition of a cult then is incredibly outdated, actually.
What I think called a kind of confluence of aims. Like, there's a lot of people who benefit.
What the fuck did they bleep out?
From the kind of muddiness around terms like trans. So, like, for instance, one of the things I talk about in the book, bloke who called the police on me several times, has sued me twice, is a guy, Stephanie Hayden. And it's his...
He didn't just...
third identity. He's a long-time con man who, in fact, you might want to cut this bit out because he will try and sue you. Like he
yeah. Just note to editor, maybe cut the name. Is that what we should?
Maybe a good idea.
Cut the name of that person.
Yes. And but what he does is he sends a legal document, tries to frighten people, and then a few days later he says, I'll drop the case for 500 quid. And with me, he went up to 4,500.
Wow!
Because he thought I was rich. So we said no, and unfortunately, at that point, I didn't know about crowdfunding, so we spent a lot of our own money trying to fight him.
He's like, I didn't know that I could get a bunch of dumb rubes to actually pay me for this minor inconvenience.
Just dropped it. But like, this is a guy who's on the run from people he owes rent to. There was a very funny moment in one trial where they were talking about I think it was a conviction that he had, and he said, "Oh, that was just for passing bad checks in Wales." It's like, it's such a strange. Why is that an excuse?
I was just
it doesn't have anything to do with the matter at hand. There are rules, I suppose, probably in the UK, much like the US, where to bring up prior convictions or civil decisions, you have to convince the judge that those are relevant.
Just bad, but like, it's a normal thing that people do. So he's a very good example of someone who is using the confusion around this issue, to make money. And there's several examples of people like this.
Okay, so there's several. Let's grant that his version of events here is true or mostly true. I'm assuming that this may be embellished or whatever, but out of all the trans people that in the UK or whatever, he can come up with several examples of people who identify as trans who he thinks are bad or who have done bad things. Oh, okay. I don't disagree.
A lot of the people who are in this kind of, some of the more vocal trans activists are, legitimately dangerous people. They're legitimately mentally unwell, some of them.
They're probably the outliers. But,
Yes.
But maybe the point is, I guess the point is here, I've spoken about this before as well. I'm like wary of repeating myself for listeners. I'm not listening to this anymore. I've heard it before. But I did a poll on my YouTube channel. Are trans women literally, and I think I put literally in capital letters
Yes.
to be very clear, women? Are they literally women? And 90% said no, but 10% said yes.
Right.
And that 10% are saying a thing that's obviously not true. So I don't know what percentage of those people are saying it.
But the word literally doesn't really change the question. It just tells us what kind of audience you've cultivated
in maybe a misleading way, or who actually believes it. But what a lot of people in the comments said was, I don't really know, I don't care, but like, well, just be kind. Why does it matter? And I think what you're saying is, if you change these rules for certain people, then some other people who are the outliers, not, you're not having to go at the trans people.
Yeah.
It's people who can take advantage of it.
But having said that, unfortunately, a lot of these outliers are central figures in the trans movement. Like, the best example I can think of is someone called Amy Challoner. Amy Challoner was a rising star in the Green Party, was part of Stonewall's trans advisory board for years, at a time when they were introducing self-ID across society, and Challoner's father was a who assaulted a girl in the attic of the family home. Challoner is now going in a relationship with another whose father introduced him to. So his father...
What the fuck?
Turns out to have been a very dangerous groomer who seems to have kind of wrapped his adopted son up in all this stuff. And
What the fuck?
Really kind of messed him up.
There's fucking really strong libel laws in the UK. This is not wise what he's doing here.
But that is someone who was right at the heart of the trans movement and is still a moderator on Reddit, we think, So...
But that's always going to happen with any movement, because the loudest are the most lunatic-y.
Yes, especially with this issue, because this is such a mad, some of the beliefs are so insane that anyone who is willing to go on and I don't know if you saw, but there was a bizarre debate with Frida Wallace and Peter Tatchell and Helen Joyce recently, where Frida Wallace is, he's just a deranged alcoholic man,
Just keeps misgendering everyone. Every trans person in this, he's been misgendering.
He takes photographs of himself being blown in... this is all... Every time I talk about this, it sounds so unbelievable. But he takes photographs of himself being blown in a dungeon, Wow.
That's legal.
And it's like, why is this man even being given the time of day? It's because he's the only one who's kind of, mad enough to say these opinions out loud, So... Yes, the problem, it's
so far. This person he's talking about, if we take him at his word, this person is a trans person who was had a father who was an abuser, probably abused them, victimized someone else in the attic, and then handed this person off to one of their friends. The dad did, and this is all. And now they take pictures of themselves engaged in sex acts, and that means this is a bad person. That doesn't make sense. This person is a victim if his story is true. But then they're just taking like pictures of themselves having sex acts with willing partners. That's just something people do.
Not all trans. Of course, it's not all trans people. If I was saying that, I wouldn't be friends with Debbie, or I wouldn't be a supporter of Buck and people like this. Of course, it's not. But there are a number of very dangerous people who are using this activism, and they have too much traction. Amy Challoner, the person I just spoke about, managed to get Sadiq Khan to change tube announcements from "ladies and gentlemen."
Wow.
you know? So
There's
these,
influence.
it's too much influence for people.
But what if it says attention transit riders? Are we okay with that? I don't know what it would say, but I would say, you know, attention transit riders. There you go. You've fucking handled everything. Boom. Because that's even people's seeing eye dog. You got that covered.
People who are at best disordered in their thinking. And so, like, you know, but then you have someone like Debbie, and Debbie is like, respects women's spaces, doesn't use them, you know, is fully transsexual, is an actual transsexual, and absolutely gets murdered by the same people.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, how many times you know she criticized?
Bigotry of small differences.
Yeah. So why isn't Debbie?
Yeah, somebody in chat said it's the narcissism of small differences, and it isn't always in the context of bigotries.
Like the person who is on all these news. I know he does go on news shows, and Debbie understands
Again, the misgendering.
I have to at the moment. You know, like, why isn't Debbie seen as a leader? But Debbie is not seen as a leader. Debbie is seen as a turncoat and a traitor.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Well, that's what people think. You can't. What are you gonna just make them not think that? Like, I don't understand.
So, you know, he gets a terrible hard time from his, you know, from what you would suppose.
So now he's misgendering his friend.
His people, you know. But I think it just proves that it's not a human rights movement. It's a political, ideological movement.
Does this guy think that human rights movements in the past were not political or ideological? He's like, it's like, oh, we would like the laws and society changed because we feel that we are being subjected to bigotries, but let's not get political. What?
Those people who are on my YouTube saying like, look, I don't really know or care, but what's the harm? What's the harm? What is the simplest for those? Because they're not going to know about all the real, you know, that's too much.
Sure.
What's the simplest way of explaining why is it a problem, some of this?
Well, I mean, there's so many different aspects to it that it's hard to just kind of round on one, you know, but like, I don't know. I mean, Buck Henry recently interviewed a 22-year-old transsexual who, you know, her appearance is of
His appearance, her appearance.
woman.
Just use their appearance. Just fucking make everything easier on yourself. You fucking ogre.
with long hair, lots of makeup. And he has just realized in the last few weeks that his doctors lied to him. They said he would become literally a woman. They said that, and not only did he believe it, his parents believed it.
10% of my audience believe it.
Yeah. So like,
the word literally there doesn't mean anything. It is designed to make the question more inflammatory, I believe.
Guy now has no sexual function, has no penis. He's a gay man who has had his sexual, you know, life ended at 22. There was another famous video. This young woman, and this is it's such a heartbreaking interview. But like, she now looks like a balding middle-aged man. She has male pattern baldness because that's what the testosterone did to her. She was told that she would become a young, virile, gay man.
Yeah.
And instead, she has this like.
I don't know. That's
appearance that looks like,
I don't think this is how medical professionals talk to people in these sets of circumstances. Young and virile. No, I'm not. I'm having a hard time with this.
You know, an accountant in a sitcom, and it was a lie. So when people say, "Oh, be kind," if you really want to be kind, you got to protect future versions of these kids who are being told an appalling lie. You know,
But you're like these are these are just like anecdotal accounts.
be another interesting one. I know this is very in the weeds, so to speak, but here's another interesting thing that I just I found out recently. Gay men have been telling me, a lot of young women who've been told that they're men, and they either have double mastectomies or they just have
Do any of these gay men that you've been talking to have names?
kind of masculine appearance or whatever. They're now going into gay spaces, and they are expecting gay men to be in romantic relationships.
There have always been women at the gay club. If you think the trans men or women, they've always been at the gay club. They've always wanted to freaky dance with us.
One of the gay spaces that this goes on in is Grindr, the hookup app.
Yeah.
Straight men are predating on those young women on Grindr. So
Wait, no. This is all anecdotal unless this guy's spending some time on Grindr, which is fine. People can reject him there too, I suppose.
straight men are joining Grindr
Of course, right.
to predate on young women for whom the testosterone has not kicked in yet. And so they, and the way they talk about these women is disgusting,
Yeah.
And it's like, you've got to look out for, I mean, you
So there may be
kind.
there may be men who are mostly straight or identify as straight who are interested for whatever reason in pre-op trans men, and they have every right to be interested in that. They're not preying on anyone. If everyone's of legal age and they're, everybody's consenting, there's nobody being preyed on here. He just thinks it's weird. That's what's going on. Is he just thinks it's weird.
You have to be kind. You have to look out for these people.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
you have to be cool to be. I know it's such a cliche. You have to be cool to be kind sometimes. If it was easy, if everything was be kind, if that's how your best results in humanity were achieved, why wouldn't everyone be doing it? Of course they would. If you raise your children that way, just be kind. Anyone who's got kids, I don't, but friends of mine do. If you're just kind to them all the time, no way. They take over everything. They scream as they want to learn.
It's like trans adults aren't children.
Like that. So, and the road to hell paved with good intentions. I mean, this channel I've got about cults, Scientology, the stuff at the beginning of Scientology is brilliant.
Oh yeah, no, sure.
It tells all these people, you can actually take control of your life. It's a little bit like what Jordan Peterson sometimes says. You can be in charge of who you are.
Does that make Scientology good, or does that make Jordan Peterson bad? Right? This guy thinks that makes Scientology good because some of what they say at the beginning sort of reminds him of Jordan Peterson. I think the car's going the other way. I think that if you start listening to Jordan Peterson and it reminds you of the shit that you heard when they were trying to recruit you to Scientology, I think it's time to get the fuck out of the Jordan Peterson community.
You can do it. The problem is they take it so far that even when you've been violently attacked by a Hollywood celebrity, they say that was your fault because you did that to yourself. So that's where it goes too far. But these are all like, be kind, be nice. It's taking it too far without actually thinking about the consequences.
Absolutely. And I remember Tottenham Court Road, there was a Scientology center, you may know it.
Yes.
And I remember, getting into arguments with the people outside, and they had no idea what we were talking about because they had not advanced through the various levels to receive full, what's the word?
You've got to get to OT3. Operating Thetan 3 is when you learn.
So arguing with individual Scientologists out in front of a Scientology center, I would suggest to you, is just harassment. Those people are victims of a space alien cult, and arguing with them, you are not helping them. You will not get them out of the cult by arguing with them in front of the fucking Scientology center. In fact, you're going to end up with the backfire effect.
Lord Zeno.
Yes, exactly. And they were lower levels. So they didn't know it was all going on. And I noticed the same thing with trans activists who either don't believe or they, you can show them photographs of children who have, children like pubescent or just post-pubescent children who have double mastectomies.
But wait, by your logic, hold on. Wait a fucking minute. By this person's own logic, walking around showing people those pictures, you're showing them pictures of minors.
They don't see it as even if they either don't believe it's true or they twist it, so they say, why are you sharing these photographs of children, and it's like,
well, yeah. If your logic was internally consistent, they would ask you would not be showing these kinds of pictures because you are showing the bare chest of a person you would believe to be an underage girl. Yeah, by your own logic.
Addressing the issue, which is these kids are. I'm friends with a guy called Malcolm Clark, who you should interview at some point. I think you'd really get a lot out of it. He is an ex-producer on the BBC science show Horizon.
Oh right, yeah, I know.
And I remember Arthur and I were once watching that show, and I didn't realize, I only found this out recently, but Malcolm produced the show, and it was about people who believed that they should cut their legs off because they felt this body dysphoria about their legs or their limbs. So they did this. And I remember at the time, Arthur and I were watching the show, and it was, in that dark way, it was very funny because
wait, what?
The person all through the show talking
That's not funny. There's nothing funny about that. That dark humor isn't, I will laugh at someone who is struggling. That's not dark humor. Dark humor still tends to punch up.
Getting a leg cut off, speaking to doctors about it. It was all arranged, and then they interviewed him after it was done. And they were like, that was a terrible mistake.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And they suddenly realized.
That is not funny.
It was wrong. So that practice was discontinued in every field except pediatrics. How do you say it?
For kids doctors.
Kids doctors.
Let's just say kids doctors.
Yeah, okay.
A pediatrician? No. Wait, what is he talking about? No. They're not like, no governing body was like, oh, we're not going to let people elect to cut their legs off unless they're kids. That's fine. Nobody's did that.
Pediatricians?
Yeah. So how did the idea of you can cut a bit off yourself and you'll be happy, how did it survive in just this one area?
Ironically, podiatrists do cut bits off you and you're happy.
That's true.
So if you'd said that,
yeah.
I get it, but aren't some trans people who have had operations and things pretty happy?
Well, this, the jury is just out, on all that. We have,
well, except we have surveys, we have studies, and it's all self-reporting, but the rate, and I could be wrong here, and I could be like over, no, I think I'm right. I think the rate of, like regret is like sub 5%.
I think we're hitting the right age for detransitioner stories to start coming in, and there are in America a bunch of cases. We have Richie Herron over here suing the NHS. I don't know about that. Where are these happy where are they?
If he brings up Ollie London, I'm going to scream.
You look at someone like Jazz Jennings, who's probably the most famous trans person in America, and he's morbidly obese. He is not lubricating the wound.
Oh, yeah.
So it is in danger of becoming infected. It's a whole thing. And people who take testosterone, young women who take testosterone. I was told this by a friend of mine, Elaine Miller, who works with women in menopause. Young women who take testosterone will enter the menopause 30 years too early.
Wow.
And the menopause is no joke. A lot of, osteoporosis comes with it. And if you have osteoporosis when if you're in your 20s and you take a tumble, you just walk away from it. But if you have osteoporosis, that's your life changed forever.
No, people who have osteoporosis fall down and don't break bones. That's not really what that is. Doesn't turn your bones into eggshells like just all of a sudden. He doesn't understand osteoporosis.
No one realizes this. I don't know if you may not have noticed this, but if you ever want to follow up on this, I'll show you some of the evidence I have. But you look at various trans protests, a lot of these kids have walkers. A lot of them have walking sticks.
What? Oh, get it the fuck out of here.
You know?
Really?
Yeah, because they have osteoporosis. You know, the bone density just plummets. You know, and another thing that happens is, like, I've heard so many testimonies of women in their 20s who've had to have hysterectomies, because another thing that testosterone does is it fuses the ovaries to, I can't remember, I don't want to say this wrong and get in trouble, so I'll be vague about it, but it fuses the
Yeah, I don't want to get anything incorrect or speculate.
Some other part of your body, cervix maybe, and that becomes diseased, and so you have to have a hysterectomy. So you get women in their 30s who are just now thinking they might want to have a kid, and it's all over.
And you only get one. I mean, I know everyone says this all the time, but you really do just get one go at it.
Yeah, they're talking about these procedures and these irreversible interventions as if it's getting a tattoo. You know?
They need to be better informed if they are going to do it.
Exactly.
Much better informed.
Exactly. And at the moment, the people who are trying to inform them are being monstered. Their books are being hidden. Like, you know, I don't know if you know Helen Joyce, but her book Trans, you couldn't find it anywhere. They put it, they put it in the stockroom. They say they don't have it, you know?
Yeah, that's what bookstores do. Did you know that? Bookstores are going to order a bunch of books and then not put them on the shelves. That's how a bookstore works. I actually don't have a problem with bookstores and libraries carrying these people's books. I think that they should carry these books if they want to. But they're not hiding the book. They're not like, oh, we're going to buy these and we're just never going to sell them.
You have like, you know, Helen wrote a piece about it today, and she was saying she met a presenter of Woman's Hour or something like that who said, oh, I'm sorry you couldn't be on the show. And she said, I wasn't asked. And I said, oh, they said you weren't available. So you have staffers who are telling the bosses that, oh, yeah, she can't do it.
That said, I did email Helen Joyce to do this, and I haven't heard back. So she might have a problem with her email.
Maybe that's it.
It's going to her junk or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
yeah. Well, I'll say.
Please do. Yeah, I'd like to talk to her. And then,
somebody in chat just mentioned that bookstores, they don't, maybe that could be true. They only have a certain amount of floor space. So maybe some of the stuff ends up in the back because they're rotating stock, or maybe just putting stuff on the shelves that they think is going to sell.
This is a good one. I think it was one of them. It might have been someone completely different. So forgive me if it was someone else who said this. But they were saying, I think in Japan, that they didn't have until there was a magazine article. This might be complete bollocks, everyone, but there was a magazine article, I don't know when, 20 years ago, talking about America and the problem with
Sure, yeah.
And then suddenly in Japan, it went through the roof.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are suggesting this is what might be happening with trans social contagion with kids.
Oh, yeah. And you know, there's a lot of parallels with, you know, like if
what are they bleeping out here?
Like you see photographs of girls post-surgery, post-mastectomy, right? And you can see these faded lines all over their arms because they're
Oh,
so you can look at the double mastectomy as just the latest in a long line of cuts they've done.
They would say, if I steal man here, they would say I was so unhappy in my body and I needed the change.
Sure, but again, the idea that you cut parts off of yourself and it will help a mental problem that you have is so bizarre, and we've kind of sleepwalked into it, and you know what I mean? It's like.
This guy, they act like child development specialists, people who are experts in human sexuality, stuff like that. Nobody ever thought about this stuff. They haven't been very thoughtful about it. They're like, let's just make it up as we go. That's not what people are doing.
Unfortunately, it seems that like it will only be through these court cases that people will begin to say, maybe we should look at this a bit better, you know.
I think one of the biggest problems I have with this, and why I want to speak out about it as well, is I consider myself a feminist, a quiet feminist, because I don't think men, when men shout about it too much, I've been to rallies, at abortion rallies, for example, where the men are shouting over the women. I'll talk about this, and I find that really annoying. But a quiet feminist, and I really am impressed by women in my life who are incredibly impressive and strong. And what doesn't really work for me is this concept of I feel like I am a woman, and I say, okay, well, what does that mean? I've never ever, and I don't want to just parrot Matt Walsh, because Matt Walsh has some views that are very much further to the right than mine. But on this aspect, I've never heard a proper answer to that. What is a woman? And what is it that you feel like? Please, I really want to understand, what is it? Because if it is,
Justin Freakin has a good one of these, and it's imperfect, but it's a person who identifies as a woman and who will usually display mostly feminine traits. Now, I don't think it's a perfect definition, but it's good enough. I'll take it.
Saying it always is. If it is long hair and nails and being a bit silly, then I find that
being a bit silly,
women in my life, my mum, my fiance, my sister, I find that incredibly offensive.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that people say it out loud.
Is that what people think? Is that's what they have long hair and nails and act a bit silly? Like, who says that? I don't think anybody's saying that. I mean, that you find anything on Twitter, I suppose. I bet people in the manosphere be saying that.
You know, can you, like, how much more offensive can you be to say that a woman is what she wears?
I want to steel man it. I know I keep saying that today, but I want to know but what do you mean by woman? And then they go, it's a social construct. I go, no, but what do you mean? What feels it?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, Stuart Campbell.
What if the answer is it's not up to me?
The Wings Over Scotland website, he said a brilliant thing the other day. He said, someone asked him, why you bothered, or something like this, and he says, because words have to mean things, or they're just noises.
Yeah,
you know, and
but the words are also socially constructed, and the definitions and the interpretations of words are always changing. They're constantly changing.
And what scares me about this is when you break down such a fundamental relationship between us and the words we use and reality, then anything is possible. You know, the old quote, those who can make you believe in what is it, in I can't remember the exact quote, but
I think I know it as well, and I've forgotten it.
The second half of the sentence is can make you commit atrocities.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we've seen this happen.
Oh, those who can make you believe absurdities. Or those who, can make you commit atrocities.
Reaction to the Hamas attacks. You know, there's like a kind of there's an inability to address it as an atrocity.
By whom?
Atrocity it seems to be losing its meaning.
The BBC refused, didn't they, to call them terrorists?
Yeah. And it's like...
Well, yes, Hamas is a terrorist organization, yes.
I think that's because when you break down the fundamental relationship we have between our words and what we experience, then we lose the ability to adequately deal with some very traumatic things. You know, I worry about kids in the sense that they must when the bodies are not even cold and people are saying, great, brilliant that it happened. I'm excited by it happened.
I'm not sure, like who. I think the only people that thought it was brilliant that it happened were members of Hamas.
Murder of civilians. Then I don't know. I would be very. I've been thinking about my kids a lot recently because you've got to wonder how they're experiencing all this.
Well, it'd be great is if they would talk to you. They'd tell you, but they don't talk to you. They don't have nothing to do with your ass, so you can only speculate.
Yeah, that's really upset me as well. My family's Jewish, and just to see some of that, and to see friends of us. I know, and I don't want to sort of get anyone I know in trouble, to be too specific, but someone I know goes into work every day, and friends of theirs, a few people I know have this experience, friends of theirs are all tweeting, these are not terrorists, this is what freedom fighting looks like. The very people that went in and
So we're now 2 degrees separated in your anecdote. People that they go to work, and other people at work are tweeting something.
Well, have in their manifesto, clear, they're not lying. It says, our idea is we want to kill all the Jews.
Yeah.
So how can you then, as a Jewish person, like a girl that I know, go into her work and sit down next to all these people who are basically saying it was good that these people who have a manifesto to kill you did what they did?
So that's, I'm sorry. Does this friend of his work at a hipster coffee shop? Did she overhear all this?
I just don't know how you go on. But I just have to believe that those people don't really know what they're saying when they said that.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason I wrote a little bit about this in the book is because we are serving up to our Twitter followers. I'm not, but a lot of people are. Kind of reheated American opinions. Like America basically has a very different relationship with Israel because there's resentment by the left that America has always been such a staunch ally, even when Israel has been very right wing or militaristic or aggressive.
The left across the planet doesn't like right wing governments. Doesn't really have anything specific to do with Israel. It's just that the left isn't going to like right-wing governments. And the current coalition running the nation state of Israel is very right-wing, so right-wing that American ethno-nationalists are looking over there going, well, they got it right. I don't like the Jewish people over there, but they have the right idea. And that's interesting.
A lot of resentment about that in America, but it's a different relationship that we have here. And so when I see what we've been seeing recently, I think the same thing I always think about all this stuff. We're just copying the Americans.
Yeah. So many of these things, actually.
Yeah.
You Americans, stop it. When it was at, going back to you, when it was because it seems to be getting a bit better. Is it people are sort of being a bit more open about? Richard Ayoade wrote. I mean, didn't write about that, but he wrote about your book, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling that's why you can't be too angry about people not speaking up, because I have a feeling a lot of people want to speak up, but it's just hard to find a way to do so.
This is this idea. Everyone agrees with me, but nobody's saying so. Sometimes that's true, but it's not true as often as a lot of people would have you believe.
Richard got pushback on Twitter.
Got pushback, but then I think what happened with him was they realized they were on a losing one with that, because people love Richard.
Well, his brother-in-law or cousin is Lawrence Fox, who's not a very popular character right now.
That's right. But Lawrence is a great example of why this is a tragic and awful movement. Lawrence isn't a political analyst. He's an actor.
Yeah.
But he can't act because no one will let him. No one will hire him. And so I think he's...
He should have just stopped after he can't act. I don't know who this person is, but that'd have been funny if he'd have been like, well, he can't act. And then just stopped.
I really feel for Lawrence. I did notice as well that the people who jumped on his recent... what would you call it?
Oh, he called the woman... not shaggable.
Said he wouldn't sleep with her. Yeah. The people who
But did she ask? Just running around and calling everybody unfuckable is kind of a dick move. I'll cop to doing it. I'll cop to doing it. I'm not saying I've never engaged in that kind of rhetoric, but it's a dick move. You don't just be like, hey, you know what? I actually wouldn't fuck you. It's like, all right, cool. Most people are actually not attracted to most other people. If everybody was attracted to everybody, dating would be a breeze, baby.
On that are the same people who are arguing that TERFs should be cast out, and the same people who are arguing for an end to female sports and women's spaces. Yeah. So it's like they switch on this selective outrage when they can take down a political enemy.
Is he suggesting that people are only outraged by the things that they're outraged by, and that they're not outraged by the things that they're not outraged by? Because that would be true.
It was a silly thing to say, though.
Yeah, it was. But as I say, he's an actor. He should be in a rehearsal room making the other people in the room laugh with stuff like that.
So he's an actor, but if he's not acting because no one will hire him, either because he has poor character, maybe he's not a great actor. Well, we shouldn't be too mad when he just goes around and essentially sexually harasses people and calls them ugly. That's fucking stupid.
Yeah. You wouldn't say in an interview, well, I wouldn't shag that woman.
No, but again,
but he has gone around. He has gone around and called people unattractive on Twitter. He's spent a good amount of time doing that, and that's all I'm going to say. Actually, both him and that Richard Hanna-Barbera guy are running around Twitter saying, "Oh, you're ugly," and it's like, "Oh dear, please don't. Let's not go down this line of discussion."
it so many times because it sounds like I'm really insulting actors, but he's an actor. Actors are young, horny dudes who like, you know, they you know, they're usually quite good looking. They're you know.
Did you add usually to suggest Lawrence isn't, or that you don't want to be saying?
No,
Lawrence
I think
he's
Lawrence
a friend
is a
of
very
yours.
good looking man. But like they're kind of lads. They're laddish. A lot of actors are quite laddish, and so
That's crazy too, because some of my favorite actors, some of them are what you'd call classically attractive, but some of the best actors aren't. And it allows them to play roles of people who aren't classically attractive. Like if the role is about like a fat person finding love, well, you can't cast somebody who society would call a 10 or whatever in that role, just because of societal expectations around weight and beauty. So it actually turns out that not that good actors don't necessarily have to be beautiful.
just feel for him because I think he's very exposed. He's a conservative. That's fine, but like even conservatives in their daily life, they don't broadcast their opinions every day. And he's in this position where it's really all he can do because no one will hire him to do anything else.
I mean, I broadcast my opinions every day, and I guess y'all technically hire me to do it, but it's like, I could just go back to systems administration, or, I mean, anybody can go work customer service. There are all kind of jobs available to people who maybe didn't make it in acting. Has anybody here ever been to LA? Like, what do you suppose, like, if you go to LA and you want to be an actor and it doesn't work out, do you just go on, is now your job to just go on Twitter and be a bigot? I don't think that's how that works. I think most people who don't find success in acting turn out okay and do a different job.
I do think
it's a huge tragedy. I think he's a good actor as well. I think it's outrageous what's happened to him.
I haven't seen anything with him in it, but I have even heard those who criticize him a lot saying he is a good actor, but so he must actually be quite a good actor.
Yeah, he is. He is.
If people are willing to admit that when they're on the other side of that argument, he must really be something.
Yeah.
So that is a shame. It is. I don't know what to feel about anything anymore. It's all just a mess, isn't it?
Yeah, but then again, stuff like this is great because, you know, a lot of the time, people just don't know what the arguments are. They don't understand the issue. They think...
Well, but that's the problem here, is that you have these two people here telling you what the other side's arguments are. And they're either picking like the maybe inexperienced people, right? They'll often pick people who are inexperienced with public speaking, people who kind of know what the argument is but can't articulate it properly because they're inexperienced public speaking. Maybe they're young and just don't have a lot of life experience. Maybe they're, justifiably emotionally worked up, and so some of their critical capacity is impaired by the fact that they're emotionally worked up because they're the target of a moral panic. So what they're saying is that, let me tell you what the other side's arguments are, because when the other side says what their arguments are, well, mostly actually in his case, we just make fun of him.
Weird things that don't sound true, and it's like, well, they are. I'm afraid it is happening, and that's why we're getting into trouble, because we're addressing very high stuff with very high stakes. If I have been told by families that I have
not yours. Apparently, only moms still talks to you.
Girls taking testosterone and boys, going through surgery. I have been told by some families that they were able to say, the writer of the IT crowd thinks this is all nonsense, and introduce it that way. And if even one of those stories is true, that's it for me. I'm so happy to be doing it,
And the guy from The Office as well, he's helped with that.
The guy from The Office,
Gervais,
yeah. Well, yeah, he's just kind of dipping his toe in, really. I mean,
I don't know, his entire specials, the last two, have been entirely translated.
No, you're right. You're right. Sorry,
He doesn't get the same flack though. This is another one as you and JK. Maybe people again don't. It's because of what you said. He doesn't. He's not really seen as a lefty.
Exactly.
Although again, he's animal rights. He's a feminist. I think he is really. Maybe Gervais gets away with it because he's just so. I don't know.
I have a joke where I say, you never go to a poker room and hear someone say, Harry got misgendered. There's a certain group of people who just don't give a fuck and they're not affected
I bet most people who play poker are probably all right.
by this stuff. The people who are damaged by this are the very people you want to protect. Social workers, NHS workers, female comedians. These are the people you want to protect, but they're the ones who get hurt by it. Yeah.
Oh, I bet women in comedy have a lot of empathy for trans women. The women I've talked to, not a whole lot, but women I've talked to who are in comedy are generally fairly progressive and also really, really just don't like bigots because women in comedy are the butt of a lot of jokes. Just by virtue of being women in comedy at all, they're oftentimes disrespected. It's assumed they're only on the bill because they're a woman. I've heard all of this from women in comedy. I only really, really know one woman who does comedy regularly. She's a black woman, and the shit that she deals with. Oh my fucking God. Maybe I should have her on to talk about it sometime. She'd probably do it.
I can tell have you heard the phrase peaked? Do you know peaked?
No, what that?
That's a kind of good sign that you haven't been peaked because what we call being peaked is the moment where you realize how bad this is and how high the stakes are.
Like red pilled.
Yeah, I guess that's the version of that. Yeah.
Ooh, yikes. Red pilled, you say? That means it certainly don't mean what it means in the fucking Matrix anymore, does it? Red pilled generally means you're like a conspiracy theorist. You've been like red pilled on, maybe something more mundane like chemtrails. But it's also the movie The Red Pill is about the men's rights activist movement.
But we call it peak trans. You hit peak trans. And it's like when you just suddenly, and once you've been peaked, you can't really go back. And it's kind of a lucky thing for you that you're not peaked, because I think if you were peaked, you would be doing these interviews all day.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you can only care about so much, can't you? Otherwise it would be like, I'd be going, but the trans thing. And then what about, is Bill Gates putting things in the water? Maybe, I don't know.
No, my decision was.
Well, wait a minute. No, what do you mean is Bill Gates putting things in the water? What the shit is, why? Has he had somebody on who thinks Bill Gates is putting things in the water? We're gonna have to take maybe we'll go on an Andrew Gold arc for a couple weeks on this show. I'm sure HK would love this chap. What do you think, HK? HK would love this guy, right?
Focus on it because no one else was, or when I say no one else, there's lots of brilliant women who are obviously and organizations that are fighting it, but there was no one who had the kind of level of. I started talking about this before J.K. Rowling came out, so there was no one who had the same platform or access to a large amount of people, and I thought my celebrity would help get the word out and stuff. So, I think it's so important that I won't stop talking about it until more people start talking about it.
Yeah.
Then I'll feel I can relax a little bit,
Did it just dry work up for you?
Sure. I mean, I just can't be guaranteed of any work because, a producer might phone and say, love you to write on this. And as soon as one person in the post room says, oh, he's a bigot, then they go, who is he? And they panic and they get rid of you. So,
or maybe they take a look and they go, oh, well, thanks for letting me know, actually. I'm not going to say who. There's another podcaster sort of in our space. And on their show, I heard an ad for the Andrew Gold show. And I just, because they're good people, I just reached out and was like, hey, I heard this ad. I know you don't handpick the ads, but if you want to take a look, this guy just recently had Non Oliver on to make fun of trans people. And they were very kind back, and they were like, oh,
Well, I used the word kind, so I think you now know what podcast I'm talking about.
You know, the only way I could fight this was by growing awareness of the issue, so that if I ever do get work and the post boy says he's a bigot, someone can go, well, actually, no, he's trying to do this and this and this and blah, blah, blah. So,
but why is it somebody from the post boy? Does he mean somebody in the mailroom, or is that just a UK-ism that I don't understand? If he means somebody in the mailroom had to go tell the booker that this guy's a piece of shit, that's odd. But it's also, I think if that's what he's saying, I think there's a bit of classism here too, because he's like, well, somebody who's a lower class than me has told the booker for this, or the person, the showrunner, what to do.
It's been dry, but luckily Substack has been a lifesaver,
For so many people.
Yeah. Oh, God bless Substack. Yeah. I mean, they put me on an adults only list, so I wasn't getting in search results.
Sounds like you're sending nudies or something.
I know. It's like they.
Well, no, that's no different than you come to my channel. You're not going to see nudity here, but my channel does warn you of what you are going to see here, and that's fine.
And, when they're caught, they're like, oh, it was a mistake. But, it's hard to know, really.
Yeah. I feel like I want to do that BBC thing of like, there are other paid for members pages as well as Substack, such as Locals and stuff from Patreon.
Right, yes. But Substack has just got a nice, elegant interface. It reads, everything looks very professional.
Yeah.
It's
Substack is just a WordPress clone.
Nice little platform. I really love it.
I got into Locals. That's my one now.
Okay.
Because you can still do the newsletters.
Oh, he's on Locals. That's not shocking.
Do like video live streams as well. Talk to your people. They can.
How many people do you get to on that?
I've got 10,000.
Okay.
10,000 there. Only started it last month.
Okay.
And they don't all
Paid?
pay though. It's only like if 10,000 paid $5 a month for something, it'd be all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not all
That
paid.
would be really nice. But was there? I'm just suddenly in my mind now. I didn't actually watch the IT Crowd. I watched Father Ted. I loved it. I didn't not love IT Crowd. It's just I was at that age when I was like, out and about then.
Sure.
I wasn't watching TV anymore. When you're in your 20s.
Yeah.
Was there an episode to do with trans? I remember hearing somebody said, "Oh, we shouldn't have done that." Who said that?
Oh, it might have been Matt Berry.
I think it was Matt Berry.
Yeah, one of the things they like to do is when they're speaking to someone like Matt, they like to throw in that question and get people who I've worked with to turn me in, so to speak. Matt actually rang just after the interview appeared and apologized.
Did he?
Yeah. So I was really thankful to him for that.
Wow.
But funnily enough, that whole episode,
He was like, I'm sorry about the true things I said about you.
Matt falls in love with a trans woman, is based on a true story. You may not even remember him. Des Lynam?
moustache.
Yeah.
Pundit.
Des Lynam, apparently.
Is he about anymore?
I'm not sure if he's dead or what.
I think he's around then.
But the story goes that he was having dinner with this trans woman. She put this in her biography. She said, at one point, I used to be a man. And Des apparently went, I don't care. Just kept eating. And we were always so impressed by that we thought, I never forgot it. And when Matt Berry came along, I thought that'd be a funny thing to base an episode on.
That I can see.
Sounds like the person you based the episode on was pretty cool. He was like, all right.
IT Crowd, really. Yeah, I mean, I know that the actors there are just my favourite comedy actors of all time. So I don't know why I haven't yet.
Yeah.
But Richard Ayoade, Matt Berry, Chris.
It's them at their funniest,
Christ, they're so good, those guys. And I can imagine Matt Berry doing that.
Yeah.
The voices he does.
He's hilarious. But Matt has to protect himself and got kind of, had to make this statement. But
if it went down like the story you said, there's why would anybody have to protect themselves if you just went, oh, okay.
Like, if you watch the episode, it ends with him howling her name because he realizes he kind of lets her go and he realizes what he's lost. But they ignore all that stuff and they focus on something they can use to portray you as a bigot, So It is what it is.
J.K. Rowling's book, apparently, there was a cross-dresser in the book, and they used that as well. Apparently, it had very little to do with the narrative.
Absolutely, it was just someone put on a.
Are they talking about the book that she recently wrote, where she didn't put her name on the book? She wrote it. She wrote it under a pen name, and everybody figured out it was her. I think they're talking about that book.
A woman's coat or something. They are desperate for dirt against her, you know, and none of it stands up. You know, she's like impeccably good-natured. You know, everything she says about trans people is very. She's generous.
Actually pretty mean on Twitter. She's pretty mean
and compassionate, but it doesn't matter. You know, she stepped outside of the permitted viewpoint.
Yeah, the woman who made a point of saying Dumbledore was gay in her mind is now a bigot.
But you cannot have a problem with cis gay people and be a transphobe.
Beaten in the street by a man. You know, just beggars. But that's what really gets me. Do you know her? Are you friendly with her? Have you met her?
No. She's kind of she rose her own hoe, if that's a phrase.
It just sounds like you said her name in a different way.
Sounds like I called her a hoe, which is terrible. No, she never really particularly engaged with me on this.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think she probably sees it as a woman's issue and wants
sure.
Women.
She wants to keep it pure. I think it's probably wise, you know, because it means that you know, my thing is I refuse to be told how to speak about this issue because, you know, I'm very secure in my stance. So I, you know, like something like you know, Sam Smith, his pronouns that being they them. I will laugh about that for days.
Why?
Sam Smith,
why can't you just use they them? Oh, Sam Smith, way more famous than you, way more talented.
Because I really hate the thing is, there is unfortunately a wrong stereotype about gay people in the gay community. You know, that used to come about that they were into children, and you know, and that's horrible. But then you got some.
But now we're going to map it onto trans people, and actually, it's actually going to spill right back over onto the gay people again. But it's fine now.
Him, who does not represent the LGBT community or whatever it might be, who goes around wearing like Teletubbies on his knees and children's things all over him.
He's got a tattoo of a young boy looking in the mirror wearing underpants.
So who is that for, if not for children to find your body in some way?
Wait, what?
I really have a problem with Sam Smith.
Yeah. Well, you know, like he seems extremely influenced by what you quote unquote queer culture. And queer culture is based on a lot of very dodgy academic, you know, people like John Money, who was an awful abuser of children.
But the queer culture is bottom up, not top down. Queer culture is not about what's going on in academia during the gay rights movement. It's about what's going on in the streets during the gay rights movement.
Michel Foucault, who
and
a lot of other people who seem, to say the least, kind of laissez-faire about relations between adults and children. You know,
it's the far left, isn't it? A very extreme side of the left.
Yeah,
wait, what?
It's about destroying boundaries. You know, it's like you know the thinking seems to be that our
Oh no, they're trying to pull out this LGBTQP thing again, right? That's what they're trying to do right here. They're not going to say it. They're trying to like soft pedal it, but that's what they're trying to do.
Heteronormative, and we need to destroy boundaries between male and female, between child and adult, whatever it happens to be, to make the world more equal or something. But it doesn't really actually add up in the end. It falls apart consistently when it knocks up against reality. It's great for a bit of academic masturbation, but it's not like it's not a way to run a society.
Yeah, it's university stuff. You're absolutely. It's the right term that you used there.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you ever? I mean, Frasier just came back. Would you ever bring back IT Crowd? I know Father Ted, obviously, unfortunately, the actor passed away.
Yeah, but I wrote a musical, and they're just sitting on it. You know?
Oh, that's right. Of course you did.
Yeah. Songs.
Why would the community around musicals maybe not be so into this anti-queer bigots musical?
There's got to be a TV channel though. If you did a TV, you know, in America, It's got to be like a Fox thing that would take it.
No, they're sitting on it. They just refuse to let me have the rights to,
Yeah, Fox is known for their musicals.
They're just sitting on it. It's like preemptive cultural vandalism, and like, I don't know what they're waiting for. I mean, I keep thinking this, I must do this, but I must put in my will that they're not allowed to make it if I die, because I think that's what they're waiting for.
And they'll change bits or what, take out their
Yeah, I'm going to put it in my will. You're not allowed.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to have it,
Where and when can people get your book, Tough Crowd?
Oh,
all right. We're not going to
Amazon.
watch the pitch part. So they mentioned Kelsey Grammer at the end. Kelsey Grammer is a conservative, but you don't see him running around saying this wild shit. His show came back because people liked the original Frasier. The original Frasier was a sexist mess, actually. There were very few women in Frasier who had any agency, except for his, I believe, his producer. But she was a queen bee, kind of, right? She was kind of for lack of a better term, the point of her being there was that she was kind of a bitch, and that's. I don't like really using like those kinds of words, but that was sort of the point. That was her. I think her name was Roz on the show, and that was the point of her being there. But Kelsey Grammer, you know why he gets fucking work? Is because he just doesn't go around saying a bunch of froggy shit all the time. He's probably a Republican, and he's managed to make it in Hollywood. So I have a feeling maybe that he hasn't been shitty to any gay people. Maybe he isn't anti-gay or anti-trans. I don't know for sure, but it could be that maybe he's a moderate conservative who isn't involved in culture war shit, and it's maybe served him well. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know that much about Kelsey Grammer, but that might be why he got his show to reboot, is because he's not out there wilding out, talking shit all the time. He maybe understands that he's getting older. He's lived a good life. He's had the finer things in life, and that the world has been good to him. And maybe he just mostly goes about the business of shutting the fuck up. So I hear from chat that he endorsed Trump. That's not great. I don't like that. But somebody else in chat just mentioned Roseanne Barr, who's out there wilding out, and she's not going to get any work. It just goes to show maybe that their little myth about Hollywood isn't exactly what they think it is, right? If Kelsey Grammer can go out there and endorse Trump and still get a show, and the show's pretty popular, the reboot's pretty popular. Maybe Hollywood isn't the monster that they think it is, and maybe I shouldn't look more into Kelsey Grammer because I might find out some shit. Who fucking knows? Anyway, that's been the podcast version of the show. We did go a little long, but we were almost to the end of this, and we're going to definitely be taking a deeper look into Andrew Gold over the next couple weeks. Might even do another one of his interviews during the post game. Thanks everybody for hanging out during the podcast part of this show. If you're listening to the pod and you want the post game, you might be able to find it for free over on our Twitch channel, where you would watch this live at twitch.tv/EchoplexMedia. Because I know I'm not DJing tonight because we're going to raid Star at the end of the show. But if you'd like to support this project and just get the whole podcast in your inbox every Thursday, you can go to patreon.com/Echoplex or eplex.store, sign up at $5 or more, and you get it every day. You just download it and watch it wherever you want. You could even archive it if you want. Save it. Cancel me one day for some dumb shit that I say during the post game after I've been drinking. So live viewers, stick around. You know the drill. I'm going to change the contents of my beverage, change the colors of the lighting in this room, and we're going to go into the post game. This is, as always, Boomers by Periscope.